Welcome to another episode of On the Edge of Tech. I'm Dean Irwin, and today I'm joined by Brett Riley, CEO of ITARMI. Welcome, Brett.
Hi, Dean. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for joining me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Really, it's a long time coming, as you said, and something like with what's going on in the world has got people chatting, evaluating, reviewing, strategizing. So it's really good to chat to you.
Absolutely. One question before we really get started. ITARMI or ITARMI?
It's a play on words, so it's a bit like Nike, Porsche. ITARMI, if you want it to be a movement of people, if you want it to be a discipline. ITARMI, if you're living in Japan and you want it to sound more like, you want it to be a bit more posh, well then, yeah. So it is a play on words, and it's been carefully thought about. I float between the two personally, depending on who I'm speaking to, and investors like the word ITARMI, and those that are in operations like ITARMI. So it just depends.
Brett, you've started an absolutely incredible business, where I like to see it as the Uber for IT engineers, a technology company that has created a platform that has more than 1,000 engineers spread across the globe. Definitely a massive achievement. So well done on that.
No, thanks very much.
What I'd really like to, the purpose of this call is to try and understand a little bit more around sort of how COVID-19 has impacted your business, and having a business where you have all these engineers that are going on site. I've been looking forward to this call to hearing how you've managed to navigate through these uncertain times.
Yeah, I think, because it's so resource focused, naturally that it does affect us, and it has put us back 3 months. So with our pipeline, business was growing 10% per month pre-COVID, and it's put us at a point where we haven't seen the revenue growth that we were expecting. We probably about 40 to 50% off the numbers that we were expecting to see over the period of April, May, and June. In saying that, we are 20% up on last year at the same time of this year. So the downside for us was naturally we invested quite heavily in our resource, expecting this growth to come January. New sales guy, to another resourcing manager based out of Vancouver, and that increased our burn rate, which naturally affects what sort of profit margins. But we're not losing money. We're probably breaking even at the moment. And the beauty of what we do, because it's platform technology based, means that we've got a very low operating cost base, which it works. So it hasn't affected us and hasn't put us in a position where the business is in trouble at all. So that's where we are now. But as COVID has dissipated across all of the regions, so we've got a lot of business happening in Asia Pac. That was the first to get over it. So those regions have opened up and revenue started to flow. And because we're delivering in 130 countries around the world, it means that our risk is not just solely focused in one particular geography like the UK or South Africa, and we're able to trade. So and that's what's happened. It has affected us, but it hasn't by any means stopped us from growing and developing our technology, and establishing a foothold in other countries. We've taken on another 6 countries since COVID started. So there we go.
Brilliant. Talking about the operational side and your staff.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think this situation that we're in at the moment has certainly created the biggest work from home experiment ever. Do you foresee any sort of cultural change in your business post COVID-19? And when I say post, I think maybe when we just get back to what would be perceived as the new normal.
We've always been a remote team. So our whole culture has been developed from a working from home environment. We have an office, but we've got our head of service delivery based out of India. We've got guys in Vancouver. We've got our head of one of our main project managers based out of Finland. We're delivering a global orientated resource business. So therefore, the culture of what we've been delivering has always been remote. So it hasn't affected us in that aspect from an operational perspective. It's been absolutely fine. Where it affects businesses and interesting is, we don't have a massive sales base at the moment. And I don't perceive that we're going to have a massive sales base, a sales-orientated approach from physical sales guys in the future, because of the nature of what we do. But from a sales culture, it does. That high-fiving, motivational, close support side of things is key to a sales-orientated organization driving numbers, and you do need that human touch, that human connection element when you're engaging. So I think that's the only thing, but it hasn't affected us at all in any way, because we've been using Teams, Zoom for 2.5, 3 years to drive a business that is global, because we're operating in 16 different time zones. So yeah, it's been business as usual for us.
I think that was, sort of kind of what's going to be my next question anyway. You speak about using all these remote tools such as Teams, Zoom, and so forth. Have there been any other tools that you may have adopted in this time that have really allowed you to continue operating and maybe excel operating?
I think that, because again, our development team's based out of Poland. So we've always relied quite heavily on Slack, Teams, and any video conferencing, and there's a number of out there that have really become key to fundamental to our operating. But I think things like email is secondary in our organization. So Teams is massive. So if you look at the chat groups, the collaboration, the amount of content, and how quickly we make decisions based on a team culture. So we've got legal chats, we've got development chats, we've got, all of this collaboration is going on. Web development. So we're about to release our new version of our website. There are work streams that are happening where people collaborate and work a lot quicker. And actually production is very high because of the nature of this happening. When you're in an office, it tends to be face to face, and you can get a decision maker. But if that particular person is not in that office, well, then it slows things down. So for us, I think that's been a key thing. Naturally, our platform is all around efficiency, speed, communication, and the ability to close a workflow end to end. So that accelerates what we're doing with our 1,000+ engineers out in the field. So it's all real, all live time, real time. So starting and stopping jobs, documents being uploaded, closure notes being added, it's all real time. So which is pretty phenomenal if you think about the size of the team, and then also obviously all of our workforce that are out there delivering. But yeah, and these things like Teams accentuate our platform and what we're trying to achieve and deliver in the field.
Excellent. Look, it definitely sounds like that you're at the forefront of technology, and the impact has not been as severe with yourselves. If anything, it's probably just presented itself with more opportunity. It's almost like they say sometimes, sort of the biggest downturns create these little pockets of opportunities. And it sounds like you've managed to identify some of those opportunities. Are there, any opportunities that you've identified through this crisis that you might emphasize and focus on a little bit more after this pandemic?
I think, look, without doubt, having engineers go to site is potentially a weakness from a revenue perspective. So if there's a longevity in something like an epidemic, let's say it went on for 6 months, a year, 2 years, then how does a business actually react to that? And our weakness, our Achilles heel would be that our engineers couldn't get access. But funny enough, the nature of what we're trying to develop from a technology perspective has never just been about that. It's been about remote management, project managers on demand, project administrators, development, accessing great tech around the world, and they don't necessarily have to be on site to deliver. If you look at technology, the way that's been evolving from storage to edge computing, it's all been about as minimal as a light touch as possible, simplicity of delivering and installing, and that's been a trend that's been happening. What's happened is that so you have smart hands on site that can install something and then you've got your remote guys, which are highly skilled technical delivery type individuals that can log on and then deliver that solution. If you look at storage, the likes of Pure, the likes of NetApp, and how their infrastructure is developed and become so much easier to deploy, the tech has got to match that. And so we were always going down that route from a technology perspective and a delivery perspective. COVID has accelerated that. And the nature of what we're trying to do as an organization around our SaaS and PaaS opportunities, around services that we can deliver on demand, has accelerated. So this scenario has accelerated that project launch. So what will happen is that the nature of what we're delivering in the future and how we deliver it will change, and or be emphasized that we'll have multiples of revenue streams as opposed to one that's very dependent on an on-site capability to go on site. And that was always in the roadmap, but it has been accelerated.
Okay, well, it's like they say, pandemics speed up history, don't they? So
absolutely. And there's loads of businesses out there that are in serious trouble because they've got a business model that doesn't match or can't deal with this type of pandemic. Big name brands that are going to have to review how they do things. And it's also accelerated how they engage with us. I think it's probably one of your other questions. The opportunity is that, for us, it's about how do we adapt to their new business models, and which is great because of the nature of what we can do that, and it's accelerated that engagement process. Okay.
And I think, sort of not only those big businesses, but those small businesses out there as well. And that's what I really want to close off on, is to ask you, Brett, as a sort of a thought leader and someone that's really at the front of innovation and technology and business. What can you give to entrepreneurs and business leaders during these times in order to help sort of navigate through these times a little bit smoother? What has been your experience, and what can you do?
I think it's, if you can, you've got to try and hang on to the skill set and the capability that you have in house. It costs way more to rebuild your business and bring that skill set in, from a personnel perspective. So you've got to do what it takes to keep hold of those people that have been driving and building your business and do something for them. I think that the culture of that is very important. I think from a product and engagement perspective, you've got to be, as a business owner nowadays, you've got to be a lot more creative. You've got to focus on what your business does, and you've also got to look at other ways of generating income. And you've got to adapt to a new way of doing business, and that this is how it is now. So
the new normal,
and that means that you've got to look at your business cost base and really focus on what your KPIs and USPs are, so your unique selling points, and potentially engage at looking at delivering your type of service in a different way. And there's been loads of examples of that happening in local communities around the world, across multiples of verticals. And some have done really well because they were really positioned to do it, like Zoom as an example. As Netflix was on the way down before COVID, and all of a sudden, it's properly everyone's been on it. So there are organizations that have adapted really well, or have been in a position just to just to accelerate or take advantage of the situation.
Yeah.
And then there are those that have got to look at their business models and how they operate in the future if they're going to survive, but they need to start adapting now.
So essentially remaining the status quo is not good enough.
No, it isn't. And you've got to look at different sales approaches, different digital opportunities, different market sectors and verticals, and adapt your business accordingly.
Oh, that's brilliant, and that's some really good advice, Brett. Thank you very much, and yeah, thanks for being with us today and sharing your skills and just your experiences. And once again, congratulations on a wonderful achievement. And we look forward to hearing more about ITARMI in the future, and wish you all the best.
No, thank you very much, Dean. I think, like you said, some great organizations came out of the 2008-2009 crisis. People thought differently. We came out of that stronger. We had a great run for one of the longest bull markets in history. We have got a correction now, which has come unfortunately in the way of COVID. It was probably needed. It's going to give a load of us a real opportunity to expand, to grow our businesses, and just look at the world in a different way. I think there potentially is a lot of good out of what's happened. So, I'm very positive for the future.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the markets do correct themselves. I think COVID was really just the prick to the balloon.
Yeah.
But essentially, every once in a while, they do need to correct themselves. And this is one of those instances. But I like your positive spins. And let's hope we can see the same out of this one.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thank you. Cheers.
Yes.